This morning we saw the little White House, and one of the things that FDR did was a fireside chat. So we thought we would do a fireside chat of a little bit of history of the area and throw in some images of the things that are in that time period.
On this episode, not only will you learn history, but you can play Where's Teddy? Spot how many times you can see Teddy and leave it in the comments below, because we're loving the real world.
Meriwether County was named for Revolutionary War Brigade General, later Representative David Meriwether. The settlement began after Meriwether County was created due to a land lottery. There were 3 commissioners: David C. Rose, Joseph Andrews, Charles Harris, and they were to oversee, and I like this is actually a quote, to oversee the well-being of its inhabitants and visitors. Rose acquired the area where the warm springs were in 1832 and began development. He constructed large buildings for lodging, and these buildings could handle 200 guests, and the mail was delivered twice a week.
In 1844, the ownership of the resort changed to Colonel Seymour Bonner. He further developed the property, enticing more people to build summer homes. And with the improved lodging, more visitors saw the cool breeze of Pine Mountain. The hotel registry, dating back to 1840, lists names of Henry Clay, a Kentucky politician, John C. Calhoun, vice president from South Carolina, and others. Savannah residents came to visit to escape the yellow fever. Atlanta residents came to escape the big city. They traveled by railroad to Durham. Visitors would then go to Bullochville,
which is what Warm Springs was called to begin with. In 1848, John L. Mustang acquired the springs, having vested interest. He had a stagecoach line. He provided travelers with the ease of transportation. He further developed the lodging to accommodate 300 guests. In 1849, the village had a store, doctor, shoemaker, blacksmith, and an academy. The hotel was saved from Sherman and Sheridan's march during Civil War, but in 1869, the original hotel burned.
Mustang's grandson, Charles Davis, rebuilt the hotel in 1874. He builds a large hotel accommodating 300 people with cottages, 6 10 by 10 masonry chambers for bathing, pools, dance pavilions, bowling alleys, tennis courts, and trap shooting. In 1889, it burns again. In 1893, Davis builds the elaborate Meriwether Inn. It was a Victorian-style 3-story, electric lights, sanitary sewage, and 120 rooms. 2 new 15 by 45 enclosed pools, 1 for men and 1 for women. Travel literature from the era states, a gathering place for politicians, public men, and prominence.
So they were seeking the wealthy. After his death, bequested to his niece, Georgia Mustang Wilkins, who, remember, also owned a house near the Little White House and was friends with FDR. So he bequests this property to his niece. At this time, the early 20th century, the automobile was very popular, and people began going to other places because they had options of traveling. So the inn begins to decline and not as many visitors. In 1919, newspaperman Tom Lowless and financier George Foster Peabody leased the property from Georgia with the hope of restoring it to its former glory. In October the 3rd, 1924, FDR visits the Meriwether Inn.
And in 1926, he buys the inn and property, over 1,200 acres, made tremendous improvements to the resort and pools. In 1934, the inn was torn down to make way for the new, more accessible structures, in keeping with Georgia's Warm Springs Foundation's new mission as a polio rehabilitation center.
In 1930, Warm Springs grew from a population of 400 to 608. But then in 1940, they returned to the pre-1930 level of population. Local businesses suffered until later in the 20th century, when a group of merchants and property owners began to revitalize the area as a shopping and dining center. The current population is around 500.
Henry Toome was the architect for many of the buildings for Roosevelt, including a school, a chapel, an infirmary, plus Georgia Hall. Roosevelt also had a golf course built, which was designed by Donald Ross. Roosevelt Field, a new airport, was built north of the town. Roosevelt was a constant visitor for 2 decades. He renamed the town Warm Springs. He would typically visit in late March and April, and in the fall for the Founders' Day dinner. Between 1924 and 1945, FDR visited 41 times.
You made it this far, so do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. We really need it. So until next time, we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.